Okay, so in this section, we're going to continue on with some of our polynomial stuff. What we're going to go through here and do is we're going to decide if x minus 2 is a factor of this thing. Now, here's the reason for that. We don't know how to factor this. It's too big, it's too messy, we don't know how to factor it. So what we're going to go through and do instead is we're going to test to see if different numbers are factors. You'll see how that ties into actually solving these, factoring them, all that kind of stuff in a second. Okay, so what I'm going to do, if I want to see if x minus 2 is a factor of this thing, then I'm going to divide by it. Now I'm going to do synthetic division, so the 0 for x minus 2 is 2. If I set it equal to 0 and solve, I get x equals 2, and I'm going to put my coefficients across here. And I'm going to go through and do synthetic division. Okay, if x minus 2 is a factor, then your remainder should be 0. So in our case, it's not a factor. And we're going to look at one here in a second where it is. Okay, so if it's a factor, the remainder should be 0. Now that sort of makes sense because if 3 is a factor of 36, that means I can divide 3 into 36 without a remainder. 3 and 12 are both factors of 36. So is 9. So is 2. So if you're looking for a factor, I mean, really it's the same idea, it's just with messier stuff. Okay, so let's look at one more of these. Okay, so same thing, but I'm asking you if x plus 2 is a factor. So when I set that equal to 0 and solve, I'm going to put negative 2 in the box, my coefficients, and go through and do my synthetic division. Okay, now remember, if your remainder is 0, then the x plus 2 is a factor of this thing right here. So I'm going to write it as two things multiplied together times my answer here. That would equal this right here. Now let's break it down one step further because I think I can factor this again. Let's see, plus 3 minus 1. So see how I was able to get it broken down, factored all the way? Now I think I forgot to mention this, but this value right here, I got from my answer right here. Now if I had asked you to solve this thing at the very beginning, once you get here, you could solve it. Set these equal to 0 and solve. My answers would be negative 2, negative 3, and 1. Now, here's going to be our goal coming up. We're not there yet, but our goal coming up is going to be to solve these things if I don't give you a factor. So that's going to be what we have to kind of get to by the end of chapter 6. Alright, so what I want us to do here, similar to what we just did, is I'm giving you a factor. I'm telling you x minus 2 is a factor. What I want us to do is factor it all the way, and maybe we'll take it a step further and actually solve it. Okay, now if this is a factor, remember that your remainder should equal 0. And let me put the right value here. Because if I set this equal to 0 and solve, I will get positive 2. Okay, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to do my synthetic division. That's a problem. So let me go back and fix this because it looks like I made a little bit of a mistake here, but I see what the mistake was. I had accidentally a second ago put a 2 here, 2 times 1, but I should have gotten that number now. So please excuse that. I'm making this in the summertime and my brain doesn't always think so clearly. Okay, so there is my 0. Now if they tell you that it's a factor, you know you're going to have a remainder of 0. So if you don't get that, like I made a mistake and I didn't get that, then go back and check your work. Okay, so here's my partially factored thing. I have the x minus 2 that they gave me, and then from here I have x squared minus x minus 12. Maybe I should go ahead and put y equals. And then I'll break it down one more time. I can factor this thing minus 4 plus 3. Now they asked us to factor completely. I'm going to take it one extra step and actually solve as well, find the zeros. So I would set those equal to 0 and solve. So 2, 4, and negative 3. Okay, and let's do one more of these. Alright, so same thing. Let's get it factored and then we'll go ahead and solve. So I'm going to divide by x plus 1, which means in the box I'm going to put a negative 1. And then I'll go through and I'll do my synthetic division. Okay, so far I've got the x plus 1 that they gave me. And then my answer here is x squared plus x minus 6. And then I'll factor that again. Let's see, plus 3 minus 2. Okay, so this is factored completely. If I want the zeros, it's negative 1 when I set that equal to 0 and solve, negative 3 and 2. Okay, so in the next section, we're going to work a little bit on getting rid of needing this first factor. That's our goal by the end.